Hey everybody, welcome back to watchNcarry. In today's video, I've got a mod that I'm going to be making for myself today. So usually these videos are on customer watches, but in this case, I'll be making one just for me. The inspiration for this one is going to be the concept vehicle. I think it was shown at SEMA a few years ago, called the Toyota Tacozilla. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I think they took a Toyota Tacoma truck, converted it into a RV of sorts. And in particular, what I liked about that was the color scheme, kind of 70s vibe. They put these three stripes on the side in typical Toyota Tacoma fashion, and those colors were yellow, orange, and some kind of like dark color, almost like a black or a brown. So I'm going to be making that today. We're going to be doing a couple of things. First of all, we're going to switch out the buckle here. I want to go with a black buckle that has the Casio logo. So this is an old strap I have here on the right. So we're going to swap that buckle out. We're going to switch out the module in here. So the three colors that I'm going to be using are going to be going in a diagonal pattern. And I think it would look better on the AE 1300 module because three colors would look best on three different subdials. And so what we're going to have here is like this amber color running diagonally like this, and then the orange running diagonally like that into that circle, and then the dark color running diagonally like this into the right circle. So we're going to swap out the module here. And then the watch we're working with is not a Casio watch. This is actually a Synoke watch. There's the brand on the top right corner. It's a blatant Casio ripoff, but unlike Casio, this comes in a wide variety of colors. So Casio does not make the AE 1200 or 1300 in a white case. So we are using it just for the case and the strap. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to take off the case back here and put on a genuine Casio case back. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take care of that buckle. Because this screen or this glass on the watch is pretty fragile and easy to scratch, I'm going to put some painter's tape down there, and that way it doesn't get scratched on the surface I'm working on. To remove this buckle, we're going to just take a pair of pliers here, or maybe we can use a spring bar tool. Let's see. This is the punch side of a spring bar tool. Maybe we might be able to just push that in. Okay, that one was easy. Usually the Casio ones are quite difficult to remove. Okay, the tongue and the spring bar we don't need to use. This is the one we're going to salvage. You can see here that it's a little bit different with the Casio. This one you can't just simply push down in. So you have to grab something on the inside and spread apart the two parts of the buckle. So I'm putting in these pliers and I'm just going to spread these apart and try to separate. Let's try a different tool here. There we go. Able to separate that out. And we're going to use the other hardware here. Go back to our Synoke watch. Insert the tongue. There we go. And then reattach the other side of the buckle. Just lightly push down on it to lock it into place. Great. And there we go. We've got our Casio buckle on this side. So pretty simple job for that. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the module. So you have 4 screws here on the back. There is our Synoke case back, and this is going to be our Casio one. You can see that the Casio one is a little bit wider and a little bit thinner, but it still fits the Synoke case and lines up with those holes perfectly. It's important to mention that because you're not using the case back that was made for the case of this watch, that could compromise the water resistance. I'm not planning to swim with this watch or expose it to water, so I'm not worried about that. To me, having the look of a Casio case back on the back is more important. But if you want to take the swimming, I would suggest you go with the original case back. Okay, now before we switch that out, we need to get into the module here and remove that. Or let's do the O-ring first. Now when you remove the O-ring, you don't want to just grab and pull because it can easily stretch the O-ring. You kind of want to slowly separate it from its trough, because once that's stretched, it's going to become too large to fit back in. This O-ring looks a little bit dry compared to what Casio usually gives you, so I'm going to lubricate this with silicone oil when it comes to reassembly later. Okay, to get at the module here, I believe you can just choose anywhere where you can grip with a small springboard tool and lift up. There's your module. In comparison to the Casio one, it's quite a bit thicker, especially with that battery. Casio's on the right. And then we're going to remove the masking from the inside, which is that plastic piece that divides up the screen. And if you compare that to the Casio one, obviously it has a different design, different writing, but the Synoke is actually a little bit wider. So even though I won't show it in this video, the Synoke watch looks very similar to the Casio AE 1200 and 1300 world times. So which parts are interchangeable between the two? Well, you can take a, let's say you have a Synoke watch case and strap. You can take a Casio module and the masking, so the module and the masking, and those will fit into a Synoke case. You can take a case back from a Casio and also put that into a Synoke case, although the water resistance might be affected because the seal around the O-ring isn't as suited as the original one that came with the case. You can take a Casio strap, which has an 18mm lug width, and also put that into the Synoke case if you want to switch that out. And as you saw, you can put a buckle from a Casio AE 1200 to 1300 into the Synoke model. Now, how about vice versa? Well, you can put the buckle, you can put the strap into a Casio AE 1200 and 1300. You cannot, however, put the module, and that is because the module is really thick and that case back will not close down and secure unless you decide to use the case back from the Synoke. The masking is actually the hardest part. You cannot fit this into, or you cannot fit it easily into the case of a Casio World Time AE 1200 and 1300, again, because this is a little bit wider. So as you push this down, it's going to kind of flex and bend. Some people have found a way around that by just taking a grinder or sandpaper and sanding down, all 4 sides to make it fit. That's an option, but straight from the factory, you're not going to be able to make this masking fit into a Casio World Time case. So that's a little bit of a look about which parts can be mixed and matched between the two. Okay, so now that we have our module removed, I'm going to just cover that up with the case back so we can limit how much dust is getting in there. And set that off to the side. And now we're going to be cutting out our colors to fit into this masking for the Casio World Time. Again, we're going to be going from left to right with a yellow, then an orange, and then a dark color on the right side. We're also going to be angling those colors in the bottom window. So it's going to be a diagonal yellow, diagonal orange, diagonal dark, and then here on the top, yellow, orange, dark. So the hard thing about doing this is not the top windows. That's pretty easy. It's getting the angle and cutting the filters to match those cut points correctly. So as I'm putting in the three colors, I need to make sure that where the colors meet, where I actually cut them with the scissors, is perfectly straight, so that way it's not uneven. So to do that, what I find best is to take your filters, okay, like so, and just, this is the yellow. I don't know if that's coming out on the camera. Let's switch to a white background so you guys can see a little bit better. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. So let's go ahead and turn up the brightness just a bit. Okay, so I'm going to put all three of my colors one on top of each other. Like so. Okay, then I'm going to trim off the large portions, or actually take all three colors. I'm going to put it into a sheet of white paper here that I'm going to fold. Put my three colors there. Make sure that they're pushing all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess so it's a little bit easier to work with. Okay, and then here on the bottom, I'm going to try to line these up as best as possible. The point of the white paper is to just allow you to pack all the filters down. Okay, and then I'm going to cut here just to make one flat side for all three filters. Okay, and once you have all your three filters more or less about the same size, you're going to push it against that white paper so that way it's all packed down into this corner. Give it a nice firm squeeze. Make sure you're not using your nails. Use the pads of your fingers because nails are going to create a crease in the filter. And then what I'm going to do is simultaneously cut all three filters at an angle. And by lining or stacking all those filters on top of each other, that ensures that when I reassemble it, those cut edges are going to meet evenly because they were cut at the same time. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, I'm going to pack down these filters here just to hold them in place. And I'm going to switch to a finer and sharper pair of scissors. And the angle I'm going to be choosing is really kind of like at a 45-degree angle, right? So kind of like that. So if there's your 90 degrees here, I'm going to kind of go at 45 degrees. And then I'm going to make the next cut here. Kind of like that. All right, now this kind of looks like a mess, so we're going to go ahead and kind of organize our piles here. We're going to have one pile here that goes to the left, another pile that's in the middle, and then one pile that's on the bottom right, and then the rest of these we can just clean up. So let's clean these up real quick. Okay, so here are our 3 piles. So our first color on the left side of the masking is going to be the yellow. So I'm going to take the yellow and put that right there. And then the middle color is going to be the orange. And then the last color is going to be the dark color. So more or less, that's our 3 colors there. I know it doesn't look even for now. We just kind of did a preliminary cut. So we still need to touch these up, but that's the basic idea, is we have our 3 colors, and the cut edges here are all going to meet up evenly because, again, all 3 filters were cut at the same time. The rest of these colors here on the top you're going to save because you're going to need to use another set of 3 to cover the circular windows at the top of the watch. Okay, so now we're going to take our masking, we're going to flip it over. So because we're flipping it over, remember that what is on the left is now going to be on the right. So if this is going to be angling this way at 45 degrees, then it's going to be angling this way towards the back. So you kind of have to train your mind to think that way. So I'm going to flip my colors over. Like so. Okay, now we're going to trim a little bit more the 3 colors to get it where we want. Okay, in this case, the one on the right is a little bit nicer to work with because you can save a little bit more of the filter at the top and use it for that top right window. So I'm just going to line this up. Okay. And I need to bring it a little bit to the right because I don't want to fill in too much of this window. It has to be somewhat even. Then I'm going to take the next filter in, kind of bring that in. Hopefully you guys are able to see this. Okay, I'm taking a look here mostly at the bottom window. I'm trying to get as equal distribution of the three colors as possible in that bottom part. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Small triangle of yellow, then a strip of orange, and then the last one will be a dark one. Okay, and then checking these two seams right here to make sure that they both meet each other evenly. I don't want to see any open areas here because it won't look nice when I reassemble. Okay, I'm trying to take a look at the left dark color here, seeing how it compares to the right, trying to make it as equal as possible. Yeah, so for me that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that I know where the amount of each filter I want, I need to cut off a little bit more of each one so that it will fit into the masking. So for the yellow, what I'm going to do is there we go. So I just lightly traced out the yellow for where I need to cut. So let's cut that out right now and see how it looks. Okay, so here's that yellow. It looks pretty good. I have to cut off a little bit here on the right. Okay, cut off a little bit more. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. Next, we're going to take our orange. Okay, line it up like that. And again, take our Sharpie. Push down and hold on the orange filter and mark out where you need to cut. Okay, looks pretty good. And then lastly, the dark color. This one's a little bit hard to push down on, so okay, and that looks pretty good. Orange, let's push that down just a bit to make sure it fits. Yeah, okay. So now that I know that these are all lining up perfectly, I'm going to apply some glue tape. So I'm going to put a little strip here, another one here, and then it looks like we have some nice thick pieces of the filter here at the bottom that can stick to the masking. So I'm going to put the glue tape here on the bottom and just a small dot here in the middle. Okay, so for glue tape, this is the brand that I'm using. If you're not familiar with this, it's a double-sided tape with a protective backing on one side. So after you peel this, you remove the protective backing, and now you have two sides that are sticky. And then I just cut this into thin strips. The brand is T-Rex Super Glue Tape. You can pick this up from Walmart or your hardware store. And I'm going to put a link in the description below to my channel that shows you how to apply the tape in more detail. So if you don't know how to apply the tape, pause this video now, open up a new tab, and click on that link. Okay, so let's start with the bottom of the masking here. Okay, when you're putting your glue tape, try to leave a little, like a millimeter or so, of space between the glue tape and the edge of the opening. If you put the glue tape too close to the edge, what will happen is when everything is squished down together and reassembled, that tape is going to squeeze and become visible in the window. So you want to prevent that by putting it just a little to the side of the openings. Okay, here's another strip of the glue tape. This is actually one with the protective backing already removed, just so you know what it looks like. And the tape is sticky, but it can also be moved around. So once you put it down on the masking, you can manipulate it and spread it a little bit more to where you want it. Okay. Okay, and let's do a couple of more up there. And one more up here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's take our filter now, the yellow one. Okay, I want to check it for any fingerprints that it might have or any dirt and clean that off for now. So I'm just taking a microfiber cloth here. Let me zoom out so you can see. Have my filter here at the bottom. Take off this protective backing here for the glue tape. Okay, then let's go ahead and apply our filter. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to take a toothpick here and just push down on the glue tape so it secures that filter in place. Great. Then we'll take our next color here, the orange. Do the same thing. I'm going to clean this off camera. And apply this one also. Let's do this upside down. I think that'll be a little bit easier. Make sure that the two edges of the filters line up with each other before pushing down. And also make sure that they're not overlapping on top of each other. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's push down on the glue tape to secure that filter in. Okay, and lastly, take a dark colored filter, clean that one as well, and then apply it. Okay, in this case I have a little bit of the filter sticking out here on the edge, so I need to pull this one out and recut it. And now I'm going to apply a little bit of extra tape to the side here, because I think that will help secure this filter down even better. Okay, once it's lined up, go ahead and push down on the glue for that one as well. Again, check the seams between the orange and the dark color and make sure it's not overlapping. That looks pretty good. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is apply some glue tape here to the top and to the side and put the orange color in the middle and the dark color on the left. And then again, spread your tape around and keep it a little bit away from the edge of the openings. It looks pretty good. And it's pretty easy to eyeball the shape we need for the other two windows. Orange, and then one last one for the dark color. And then we'll secure that down as well. Great, so now we have our 3 filters adhered to the back. We're going to do a test fit by grabbing our module and flipping it over and see how it looks. Okay, we're going to use my duster here, clean up the filters a little bit. Be gentle when doing this so you don't blow your filter off of the masking. And then we're going to apply this on and see how it looks. Okay, and I think that looks pretty good. Okay, we have those diagonal colors. I think the orange strip is just a little bit thicker than I would like compared to the other colors. Maybe a little bit more of the yellow would have been nice, but I think for now, this will do fine. And some of you might have a better way of cutting these filters and getting the line up than I do. I've only done this particular mod one other time, so I'm by no means an expert. Okay, but I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. So now we're going to get our Casio watch, and let's get rid of this terrible white background so it's a little bit easier on your eyes. And go to our watch case here. Before we insert our module, we're going to dust it really quick just in case we have any visible particles that are on the inside. So I'm holding the watch upside down and dusting it from underneath. That way gravity kind of pulls the dust down. Okay. We want to check the stems on the inside to make sure that they're all pushed outward. In this case, they're spring-loaded, so they are. Then we're going to take our module here. One more dusting. And then insert this into the watch. And again, the masking and the module for the Casio are a little bit smaller than the Synoke, so it'll fit inside no problem. Okay, now you'll notice that the module doesn't sit down flush sometimes, so what you need to do is look for, see if I can point them out here, these little tabs. So there's a thin tab there and a thin tab there. Put a little bit of pressure with one finger and then push inward on those tabs. And that's going to allow those tabs to sit behind the stem for the buttons. And then repeat for the other side. Oh. There we go. Perfect. So it's a little bit loose. You can see this has a little bit of wiggle room because, again, it's smaller than the Casio, smaller than the Synoke module. But once you screw this in place, it'll be fine. Then we're going to take our O-ring here. And just briefly, I'm going to go back to the towel here. And we want to put a little bit of silicone oil because it's quite dry. So this is the silicone oil that I use. You don't want to use mineral oil because that will eat away at plastic and rubber parts. At least that's my understanding. That's what I was told. So just take a little bit of that silicone oil, apply it to a Q-tip, and just roll that Q-tip around the O-ring. Some people take their fingers with the oil and then they drag the O-ring through it. I'd recommend you don't do that because, again, that little bit of pulling is going to stretch the O-ring and it won't fit properly anymore afterwards. Okay, just like that. And this O-ring is, I think, the same no matter which orientation you reinstall it back in. So back to our watch here. Okay, looks pretty good. Make sure it's really sitting down in that trough, the O-ring. Okay, take your case back. Carefully lay it down on top, and you don't want to be moving this around because as you move the case back around, you might actually roll the O-ring underneath it and cause it to be pinched by the case when you re-screw it. And then we're going to take the original screws that came with the Synoke case. Okay, turn this over and we'll take a look at our work. There you go. Pretty cool result. It's a very cool design. Let's go ahead and test our functions here. Bottom left button. Our sound is working, so we know that we connected the case back properly. I like to go to the stopwatch to test out the other buttons. So bottom right now, and then top left, push and hold, and then the backlight is going to be your top right button, and there's your backlight. So everything works well, and I think pretty good job. Again, I think the orange is just a little bit too wide. I think just maybe a millimeter or two thinner towards the yellow, and a millimeter or two thicker of the yellow would have been better. But, you know, you play around with it. You can always take it apart and do it as you like. But it's just like another fun mod idea you can do. The 1300 is great because the 3 dials kind of make this more of an automotive theme type of watch, because it kind of reminds you of the dash cluster for a car. So if you have favorite car colors, BMW is another popular one. You can also make, I've seen people on the Facebook Casio groups make something similar to that. Other things you can do to kind of clean this up is, I don't mind the word dual time up here because that's in English, but L luminous, I don't really like that. I think that kind of takes away. At the same time, I'm a person that really likes labels on the watch just because I think it kind of adds to the retro feel of it. So I think this time I'm just going to leave the letters on. If you want to remove that, I have a separate video on my channel that you can search for, and then you'll do the same kind of process over there. And then we have that buckle over there that we did in the beginning. But there you go. There is your Tacozilla themed Casio watch. Kind of an odd design choice, but hope you guys enjoyed it. I invite you guys to take a look in the description for my Instagram channel. That's where I have my other mods posted. And if you would like a mod made by me, or you have other questions about modding, I invite you to also send me a direct message there. Most of the time I'll get to them, and I try to help people out as much as I can. And there are also many people who are more qualified and experienced than me to do this type of mod. So I'm going to put some of their accounts also in the description of this video, and I encourage you guys to check them out for even more fantastic work. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. Have fun, and I'll see you guys on the next one.